This video will be split into two parts. If you enjoyed this part of the video, be sure to subscribe so you can catch the next one. And with that, let's get right into it. There are a lot of dinosaurs in Exoprimal, and each one has a very different temperament, and also different weaknesses. Last video we covered every exosuit in the game. Give it a watch if you haven't already. And this video will show you how to use them effectively and to kill every dinosaur in the game. We'll be going through the strengths and weaknesses of every dinosaur, one by one. Remember to subscribe for more Exoprimal content, and with all that being said, let's begin with the regular breeds of dinosaur, before we move on next video to the Neo dinosaurs. But first, the raptor. The raptor is Exoprimal's common or garden enemy. Pouring out from portals in massive numbers, the raptor is simple to take down and relatively harmless on its own. It's when you're trapped in a group of them that problems really start to creep in. Raptors attack with a basic lunge and strike, and are found at all stages of the game. They can also be found in the Mega Portal late game stages that spawn thousands of raptors repeatedly until you've killed what's usually around 1,200 of them. Don't get surrounded, and you'll deal with raptors just fine. Up next, the Pteranodon. Pteranodon's Exoprimal's token flying enemy. Hard to hit, low health, and surprisingly high damage are all hallmarks of the Pteranodon, and they tend to slip in between the cracks of your defense. Don't be surprised if you find your data key taking massive damage due to a rogue Pteranodon that snuck in from behind. These dinosaurs will appear from early on, typically from the second stage of the game, and carry on spawning until later stages as well. You'll have to kill a few of them most levels in order to progress, so my advice is always to pack an exosuit with a cannon rig. On to the next. Pachycephalosauruses are the first dinosaurs you'll face that have a decently high amount of HP. They'll usually appear from the 3rd or 4th stage onwards, and usually in singles or maybe pairs of 2. They have a medium amount of health, but there are a few things to watch out for a Pachycephalosaurus. Number 1 on that list is their blistering headbutt, which can and will knock you off ledges if you're unlucky enough to be standing close to them. They can also do high damage with their claws, so stay away, but the number 1 rule to deal with these dinos is to never engage them from in front. They have a very well protected head, so strike from the sides if you can. Downgrading in size is the immensely irritating Sinornithosaurus. The Sinornithosaurus is a tiny dinosaur which doesn't spawn often, but you'll definitely notice it when it does. They'll spawn in clusters, usually in story missions in the late game, and their general behaviour is swarming you and climbing all over you. Get a teammate to shoot you if you're covered in Sinornithosauruses, as they'll restrict your movement and slowly damage you over time. They have low health, so a few shots should do the trick of these little monsters. With those pesky devils out of the way, it's time to move on to the bigger dinosaurs. The Triceratops is the most commonly encountered big dinosaur apart from the Carnotaurus, and I find that it's a lot easier to deal with than the later dino. Triceratopses are normally always found alone, and they spawn in the later rounds as mini-bosses, usually the round before the final stage, or they can be dealt with as dominators too. The key ways to deal with the Triceratops is to utilise your dodge, as they don't switch direction very well, and by not standing directly in front of them under circumstances, if you're skewered by a Triceratops, it will very likely kill you instantly, and shooting at their armoured heads does next to nothing. So try to shoot at their flank, back end, or their underbelly. A Triceratops has significant damage dealt to it will topple over, exposing its vulnerable underside. Take every bit of opportunity here, and damage it as much as you can when it's flipped. Next, the Carnotaurus. The Carnotaurus is the other early game mini-boss dinosaur that can be encountered from your very first game. It's sort of like a mini T-Rex, but while not being quite as deadly as that killing machine, it can certainly cause you problems. Stay away from the Carnotaurus at all costs, as it can and will kill you from any angle. It has a range of attacks, from a devastating bite to an angry thrash, or even a quick and lethal tail slash. Stay as far away from it as you can, and if you're playing Zephyr, then don't try and take on a Carnotaurus single-handedly, it won't end well. Shoot this thing in the head as much as you can. It doesn't have much armour, but it'll probably take longer than you think it will to kill, because it's almost guaranteed to take a few of your teammates with it. Now with that being said, we're on to the later game dinosaurs, beginning with the Dilophosaurus. The Dilophosaurus is a pain. It's a fairly weak medium health dinosaur, but it spreads poison that distorts your vision and damages you. I'd recommend taking this thing up the second you see it. It will normally be part of your kill quota, and it causes too much of a nuisance to recommend leaving it for any amount of time. Deal with it straight away, and shoot it in the head. That'll kill it off fairly quickly, as it's poorly armoured and susceptible to headshots. There's not really a huge amount to say about this one, as it's generally encountered later in the story, and then in later rounds, and it's not a common one to fight. Kill it quick, and then move on to those raptors. Talking of actual pain, let's talk about the Stegosaurus. The Stegosaurus. The only thing that I can say about this dinosaur, kill it the moment it spawns. You'll more than likely be very aware of it when it does spawn, because it will cry out and then use its spines to make your life incredibly difficult. The Stegosaurus doesn't really do much, if any, damage, but it does seem to be able to make your life a misery, disabling most of your abilities and slowing you down until you can kill it. Stegosaurus is deceptive though. They look like high health enemies, but are actually medium health. Shoot their spines and they'll drop pretty quickly. Just do it fast. You do not want these hanging around. You're lucky you won't encounter these until the late game. Next up is a far more armoured enemy, the Ankylosaurus. Ankylosauruses are heavily armoured dinosaurs, though while possessing similar health and less damage than the Triceratops and the Carnotaurus, will almost certainly take longer to defeat. They're defensive monsters, as they have armour on nearly every part of their bodies, but my suggestion for these is to aim for their legs. If you can do enough damage to Ankylosaurus, it'll flip like a turtle, and you'll be able to target its underbelly and do some serious damage. Also, stay away from its tail. It will do some serious damage if it manages to thump you with it. For a dinosaur so big, it has very few chinks in its armour. Deal with this when the second it arrives, as it will more than likely take a while to kill. It will often appear in later game stages or during the final stage, and every wave of enemies in the domination style final round will have one. On to the last and most dangerous of all the basic dinosaurs, the T-Rex. The T-Rex is the king of the dinosaurs, for a very good reason. It has razor sharp teeth, a strong lashing tail, and lots of health, due to its size. It's not often you'll encounter a T-Rex in Exoprimal, but it will always be a late game mini boss, and it will take your entire team to take down. The T-Rex is absolutely lethal. Do not go anywhere near it if you can help it. Sorry again, Zephyr players, unless you're extremely good at dodging. If you approach it from the front, it'll eat you. Literally. The T-Rex will chase down every member of your squad individually, and knock you off ledges, kill you with its massive teeth, or whack you with its tail. In short, this thing is a nightmare. Shoot it in the head, kill it as quickly as humanly possible, and move on. That's it for the normal dinosaurs. But you're gonna have to wait to the next part of this video for the Neo Dinosaurs. So if you're interested in those, be sure to subscribe. Let me know what you thought down in the comments below, and I'll catch you guys on Friday for part 2. Take care guys, in a bit.